Today's show is a different kind of show from normal, a kind of series that I don't see often, and the few times that I have, they share a lot of staff similarities. Today's show is less of a single tale told from beginning to end, one with a standard setup of introduction, climaxes, and conclusions, but instead a cavalcade of many smaller stories all coexisting with each other and getting their focus in due time. The bonus to this kind of thing is that there is much more openness. The world for our characters seems much larger, like there's always more going on. One small throwaway scene for one story could itself be a linchpin or even a climax for another story. It's a fascinating thought to be able to watch something that is a lot closer to the real world than most. Because you could look out into the real world, ignoring the sun because it burns us, of course. But we look out and we see hundreds of people. And while we are the main character of our own story, they are the main character of theirs. I love that idea. Which is why it sucks that Durarara drops the ball with it. Ladies, gentlemen, and others, my name is Arcada, and welcome to Glass Reflection. Today, the 2010 anime series directed by Takahiro Omori, produced by Studio Brainspace, and based on the original work by Ryogo Narita. Durarara. Should be fun, shouldn't it? Let's jam. The problem when trying to talk about this kind of story is that it's hard to know where to begin, because the show doesn't seem to have a main character. There are a trio of characters that almost every story involves in some way, so perhaps they share the title of main character. But then there's the mysterious character with the motorbike and the black outfit. She has a good amount of time dedicated to her mystique, and she's a constant force in all the following storylines. So perhaps she's the main character, sort of like Ginkgo from Mushishi. Or, looking at it another way, we have a character who is without a doubt the antagonist to the story. So perhaps the only one who can fight him on equal terms is the main character. Or maybe the main character is Isaac and Miria, who unintentionally spread happiness around them. The fact is, all of them and none of them are the main character. The main character really is the city itself and not any one person. The show takes place in Tokyo's downtown Ikebukuro district. Everything of importance happens there, and except for a few backstory flashbacks, the show never leaves there. This is interesting because this makes Durarara much more like a soap opera, like Coronation Street, for example. The story of the city is the one really being told. Everything else is just a subplot. Or at least, that's how I wish it turned out. See, it started off that way. Durarara spent some time introducing our rather large cast. Then it went about telling us most of their stories that were loosely connected. Good so far, but then came a time in the show's second half where the stories started to converge. Not in a, oh wow, they put a lot of thought into this, like it was planned to happen this way all along kind of way, and more like a, wait, why is this happening? Oh. Well, that's some silly convoluted twist. They don't just combine stories in a flowing and natural way. They combine in a, this kind of thing would never happen, coincidences are never this huge kind of way. I want to say that it's possible this series was more of a testbed for this kind of story, perhaps an experiment that the author would then learn from and improve upon. But I can't say that because I know better. The author first wrote Baccano. So we're going to talk quickly about Baccano, not because I think that this series is amazing, and hopefully that me talking about it will convince someone out there to watch it, but because it's the only other work adapted by the same author, and they exist in the same universe, if the appearance of two characters and various supernatural elements are any indication. Baccano, like Durarara, was a combination of many stories told in a different way, just not the same way as done here. Baccano doesn't focus on one location. Instead, it told its story in 3, sometimes 4 separate timelines. No story was happening at the same time or place, despite being shown to the audience as such. But on some level, all the stories were still connected. Revelations shown to us in one storyline had an effect on the others. And it was a brilliant way of doing things, because everything just fit together so well. Durarara relies more often than not on crazy amounts of coincidence. Characters from several stories meeting in this small section of Tokyo is an acceptable coincidence, but having those characters be 3 opposing forces of one large gang war is less acceptable, especially when they are all friends and not know how they all connect. I should bring up at this point that there's actually quite a bit to like here. Starting with the fact that the show's entire first half is fucking amazing, which is why this is just so disappointing. The cast of this series is huge, and that made me worry at the start. How the hell are they going to introduce all of these characters and make them feel relevant? How are they going to juggle all this? The pacing is going to be a disaster. But it wasn't! The introduction to both the world and every character was masterfully done. Those intro episodes are a paragon of pacing. The music was timed perfectly and the whole production was just brilliant. But then someone dropped the ball. It's almost like it was planned to happen too, because the 13th episode of the show is called Takes a Sudden Turn, like a premonition of what was about to occur. From this point on, things started to become convoluted, distorted, messy, and devoid of so much that made the series good. That's my one-line description for this series. Beautiful setup, horrible execution. It's funny because 2010 is around the time that I started my belief that the ending is paramount, which would have been perfect if I watched this show when it aired and not recently. Because you see here, the ending really is paramount. You can't enjoy Durarara's intro episodes as a standalone. With a world this large and a cast this huge, 12.5 episodes isn't enough. It's more like just a depressing taste of what could have been. Of course, after this, they decided to give the story another 30 some odd episodes and more seasons, but unless that becomes the best freaking anime to ever grace my television, which I doubt, it would not make up for what Durarara became at the end of this first season. I love the characters of this show. I feel like Celty was amazing. I love the zany antics of the van crew, or how Simon kept trying to hawk his Russian sushi. I try to appreciate the things of myself that I see in Mikado, to appreciate things about Anri, besides her chest, which is all the show says is worth noting about her. I both like and hate the fact that Izaya now ranks near the top of my most hated characters list, not because those characters are annoying, but because they are downright assholes. Durarara was at its best in the middle of the action, or at times where its smaller stories could shine. It knows how to get an audience excited in more ways than one, and how to keep them entertained. But this is a story of a community that can't really end. But what we got didn't even try to give us closure or a conclusion worthy of the city it was about. Do I recommend this series? Well, no. I won't go out of my way to say to watch it, but that's kind of because I'm biased against it, because I have a way that I enjoy stories and also a way that I prefer them to conclude. It didn't even need a solid, all plots tied up ending for me to be happy. Hell, Baccano is nowhere near ended after only 16 episodes, but I would have preferred how that ended over this. I will admit that there is a lot to like here, and I am leaving it open to the possibility that future seasons can make up for it. Doubtful, but possible. Now, you might wonder why I didn't just watch the next seasons before writing this video. Like, I did plan to, but I felt like this frustration that I feel with season 1 just needed to be expressed. Though, if you have the time to check it out yourself, perhaps you'll find the show's flaws to be not as bad as I consider them to be. At the time of this video, Durarara has been licensed by Aniplex of America. It is available for streaming in sub and dub, surprisingly, over on Crunchyroll, links down in the description. I don't have much to say on the dub other than I am a big fan of many a voice actor in its cast, but because I watched it on the physical Blu-ray release, I had to switch to subs. That was because there's a character that speaks with text messages, and the disc does not have sign or text translation subtitle tracks. So, while I watched it in sub, you might want to check out the dub online, because the cast is quite good. For alternate anime recommendations, if you couldn't guess the first one, it'll be Baccano, because everyone should watch Baccano. Everyone. It is great, it is brilliant, and if everyone watches it, maybe it'll be enough to convince someone to give us more episodes of it. Why Durarara got 30 some odd more episodes and Baccano only got 16? We will never know. The universe likes to be cruel sometimes. Second recommendation goes to Blood Blockade Battlefront. And I hope I got that in the right order, because sometimes I screw it up. It's a series that has a similar style to it, even if the story is much more traditional and linear. But that doesn't stop it from being entertaining. Finally, I would like to thank all my patrons, including Calhoun Boy, Victor Ekmark, Nikolai Gray, Joshua Garcia, Jocelyn Atkins, and Ludika Adachi, without which I would not be able to produce these videos to the same extent that I would like. And that's it from me. Thank you, gentle viewers, for watching. Until next time, stay frosty.